I believe leadership is that everyone deserves a chance, no matter what you believe about them. Your presumptions of an individual are not your fault, and they are the result of one's environment, whether the past or the present. But it is your fault for not attempting or trying to see another viewpoint or a different perspective and having some empathy with the individual you're interacting with. This plays into my core belief system in many ways. There are three main values that I hold dear to my heart, and that is respect, love, and ambition. The story touches on all of those aspects and more. The story I'm about to tell is a work story, and I know it's just a work story, so I'll try to make this a little more interesting with some characters and some quality acting skills. But we got a new coworker at my job, and I was assigned to train her. Now, I thought this was going to be a breeze. I had worked with her 2 years prior when I had first joined the pie job, and she was a high school student, sophomore, and we were still in our basement forming this pie dream. She had stopped coming after that summer ended, and she was mainly focusing on school. Fast forward 2 more years, and my boss had been looking for someone new as we had expanded and into a retail store, and Lucy was interested in working another summer. I was excited because I thought this was going to be a breeze, and because I barely had to do my job correctly, I was sure that Lucy could handle, and not only handle, but excel at the work that I do. By the way, some background info on Lucy. She's very smart. She is of Asian descent, and the reason I know she's smart is because she has gotten a full ride to this first school of her choice in California, and she's working towards becoming a doctor. So she's very, intelligent. Anyways, Lucy comes in, we say hi, catch up, blah blah blah. We find out about college. She's in her senior year in high school right now. I asked how was high school. She said it was alright, said sounds like high school, yada yada yada. I give her a tour of the space, show her around, where she'll be working, and all of the spaces around the shop, and then I bring her back to the front end, which is where she'll be working, with customers and serving them, introducing all the items on the menu and stuff like that. So as we finish up the intro, a customer comes in and I show example on how to treat them and proper health and food safety codes, the checkout system, all the general stuff. So this happens a few more times and I give her a few more examples, and she does, I give her a chance to attempt it, and she does, but she does it a bit slow, and I notice a few things are off, and I try to give a little tips and tricks, what to do and stuff. And as I try to show her this, I notice she starts to fumble a little bit, and she does this with the next customer. And then another similar situation, she's also fumbling and she's not taking my tips, but I don't know how to process that. So this continues, and I slowly start to realize she's never worked a customer-centric job. She wasn't asking the right questions. She did not have the right attitude. And the efficiency was very slow just in general. I noticed she was slow at doing the dishes, and she was having difficulty understanding, some of the closing tasks on a pretty simple list, and I was just confused. The worst of it was honestly the mopping, as she left dry spots everywhere, and it was just not a great situation. Now, I'm sounding really negative here for a reason. This is my thought process during all of these events. I didn't know how to really think about this. And I would have thoughts like, what? That's how you mop? What? That's how you do dishes? It's pretty simple. Just take the trash out to the dumpsters. And then, I just had the worst thought of it was, it's like you've never had a job before. And then it dawned on me. She hasn't had a job since that summer that she left. And I know the Asian cultural story. Whether you're from China or India or any part of that eastern region, your parents tell you one thing. They tell you, go to school, get good grades, go to college, get good grades, get a big boy job. My parents did the exact same thing before coming to this country. My mom especially didn't work at all. She told me she's never had a job before she had arrived here in the USA, and she'd worked as a laboratory assistant. That was her first job. She'd never worked any menial jobs such as retail or any kind of customer-centric job. Once I realized this, the whole situation flipped on me. I was the one doing the bad job. I was the one not training her properly. I was the issue all along. It was me. By this time, most of the tasks were complete and it was time to go. As I looked at her face, I noticed that she did not enjoy this day. She didn't enjoy this work, and I could tell that something was off and that she did not enjoy her experience here. So after that, I went home and I thought about it more, and I actually complained about her to my girlfriend, but at the same time, I had also realized that I'd done a bad job training her, and it made me think about it more. So the next day, I went to the pie shop. I talked to my boss about her, and I said, hey, I think I did a bad job training her because she did a really bad job that day. And my boss, told me, well, what did you think you did wrong? What did you feel you did wrong? And I told her I assumed that she had a job before this in any other sense. Because in high school, I had 2 or 3 jobs at least. And it was mainly just to get the money. And I gained experience through that. But the more I thought about it, the more it was clear to me that she hadn't had a job since that summer folding boxes with us, which was the only job she did during that summer. So I thought about it more and how I can look at this from her point of view. How if I had never had a job, if I had never worked other than one single job and I'm coming back to that same job in a completely different environment, how would I want someone to train me? I was trying to show her as much empathy as possible. So I go home, I start writing down a list of what to focus on, and I'll actually pull up that list and I'll show you. I wrote a list talking about training goals and the objectives I'd like to show her. Talking about customer interaction, the systems of knowledge, communication goals within our customer interactions, and product knowledge, stuff like that, general work. And it helped me think about stuff like when you interact with the customer, you have to have a smiling / positive, appeal, and you have to be helpful and informational and have an open and accepting body language. You also have to be respectful and time conscious. So, all these things, all these little tidbits here and there. And the first thing I did with her for her next shift was I actually sat down and I apologized. I apologized to how badly I trained her previously. And I asked her, the first question I asked her after that was, what are you trying to get out of this job? And she told me immediately. She said, I'm looking to develop my interpersonal skills. And as soon as she said that, I was kind of floored. I was like, why didn't I ask this before? What was wrong with me then, and why was I so unempathetic? I wasn't, putting myself in her position. So, while we were having this talk, a discussion of what she wanted to do with this job, I asked her if she'd had any other previous work experience. And she told me that she had actually worked with kids and teaching them violin. And I smiled at that, and I told her that working this job is exactly like that. Customers are exactly like kids, and sometimes kids don't know what they want, so you have to help them decide. And she smiled at that. She was more comfortable with the thought of talking to people thinking that they were just kids. And it made me realize the privilege I had with my parents, and them letting me have these other job experiences to build upon these skills, to be able to communicate with strangers without feeling anxiety or nervous. And here's this girl that's stepping out of her comfort zone and learning to become her own person, and she wanted to develop her interpersonal skills. That's my privilege to help her and guide her through this journey of learning and working on herself and help her develop these skills. After that, we had such a good discussion about her goals within this company, within this summer, what she's trying to achieve with therapy, and it was really enlightening, and it actually alleviated so much pressure and tension. It was very strange, but I felt more open, and I could tell just by her demeanor that she felt more open. And as the day progressed, I told her everything I could. Every little detail I tried to exemplify, to show more detail in, and these little tones in your voice and stuff like that. She has a very quiet voice, but the more she did it, the more the more confident she felt. The more she was able to step out a little of her comfort zone and show that she could do this. And the rest of that shift was great. I opened up more about my life. She opened up about hers and what she wants to do with herself in Cali and with this doctorate and all of these things. And it was a really wonderful experience. She did all of her tasks better, and it was a much, much better training experience. The key takeaways I took from this story, from this experience, are that I cannot just look at a situation from one angle and hope it works, especially in leadership. It is critical to understand someone else's view and cultural story and their difference from for your own well-being, to help build a better picture and how to lead them in the direction that you both want to go in. One of the other things I did actively while we were talking is I practiced active listening. This is one of the most important skills as a leader, and it was a major tool in how I was able to gain this information on her, and just being genuine, asking the right questions and being sincere and authentic, as well as showing a lot of positivity, to help her feel comfortable sharing this information. Disregarding assumptions and providing a clean slate for the individual is also very important. It removes the barriers that you have placed in them or in ourselves, or that they place on themselves, and it prevents you from projecting your views onto them. And it helps us and others realize their full potential. Without that clean slate, you are already putting up barriers to prevent either of you from reaching your full potential. This class has helped me challenge my perspective on leadership and my perspective on diversity and how I view its importance. The ability to have multiple viewpoints from multiple cultures is an invaluable tool in humanity to learn and love each other in different ways. It creates the richness of life in our tiny little rock planet, Earth, floating through the infinite cosmos of space, and without it, we cannot be human. Regarding leadership, without understanding each other's perspectives and our differences, it would be near impossible to lead. I think of it as a ship, honestly. Leadership, you see what I did? We all have to work together on this ship through the sea of life. And when we all have this time on this ship to understand, to love, and to work together, we build these relationships and our connections, and it's important to have good and positive and reinforcing connections that will help us through this journey through life. And not a single one of us can do it alone. The ship has multiple roles in it. You need someone with the mast, you need someone steering, you need someone below the deck, all these different roles that we have are different roles in life. And for someone to lead the ship, you have to understand all these different perspectives. You have to understand their differences, you have to understand how they work, and you have to help create cooperation between these individuals. That's the most important part of leadership, so that we can all get off the ship at the end. And I think that's what leadership is. That's what I believe it is. Thank you.